please hit that subscribe button. Hey everybody, better suited to win the Stanley Cup this season. If you are new to the channel, Washington Capitals, the Boston Bruins.
Locked on and he scored! And we're live. Hey everybody, so we have some major injury news to talk about today regarding the Dallas Stars, as it has been reported that both center Tyler Seguin and goaltender Ben Bishop are expected to miss 5 months with injuries that they had to have surgery to repair, and this is obviously not good news for the Stars, who 5 months really does put them, forward towards next season, puts them into the possibility of missing a majority of next season. And that is obviously not great for if you're a Dallas Stars fan. We really don't know what the timeline for next season is going to be, or what next season is going to look like. So we don't know for sure. But if you look at 5 months from now, that's putting these guys coming back around the beginning of April. There's a chance that they could miss a majority of next season, or, like a large majority of next season potentially. So, obviously not great, as I'm going to pull up the article here and read it off for you, get the information. Tyler Seguin and Ben Bishop both undergo surgeries, out for 5 months. Seguin underwent a right hip arthroscopy and labral repair. So basically what I've read about Tyler Seguin is that he had a fully torn labrum in his hip. That is a really nasty injury and a tough one to come back from. Obviously, your hips are very important in so many aspects, but particularly in skating in hockey. So that's a tough injury for sure. And Bishop had a torn meniscus in his right knee. Bishop had his surgery before Seguin, so Bishop's was October 21st, whereas Seguin's was, I believe, November 2nd. So Ben Bishop is targeting a late March return, while Seguin is targeting an early April return. But nonetheless, that's a good chunk of next season missed if the league does start in January, like it seems they're hoping to be able to do. That they're going to be missing a lot of next year. And that's going to be tough for Dallas, because losing a guy like Tyler Seguin is absolutely massive for the Dallas Stars. Now, Bishop, I don't think it's as important. And the thing with Ben Bishop is that they have Anton Khudobin, who proved in the playoffs last year that he can start and he can be a high-level goaltender in the NHL, and he can carry this team when he needs to. So I'm not as worried about the Bishop injury. Obviously, and ideally, you would have Ben Bishop and Anton Khudobin both healthy, and they would be your goaltending tandem. That's not the case right now, but Khudobin can clearly take over and be the starter. He did it in the postseason last year and brought them all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals. And they have Jake Ottinger as an insurance policy as a third goaltender. And Ottinger, not many people know much about him, but I watched him play at Boston University in college, and he is a very, very solid goaltender. And I have no doubt that Ottinger can come in and be a solid, more than serviceable backup for Anton Khudobin. So I'm not as worried about the goaltending, because they have players there below Ben Bishop on the depth chart who can replace him, and Khudobin and Ottinger as a goaltending duo I think will be fine even without Bishop in the picture. They do not have anyone that can replace Tyler Seguin, and that's what makes this Tyler Seguin injury so important and so brutal for the Dallas Stars, because they're a team that struggles offensively to begin with, or at least did in the regular season last year. The playoffs were weird. It was a totally different story in the playoffs. They actually really turned it on offensively in the postseason. But in the regular season last year, the Dallas Stars were one of the worst offensive teams in the NHL. Tyler Seguin was their leading point scorer with 50 points last season, and that's a very low point total for Seguin. But he led the team with 50 points. No one else on that roster even hit 40 points in the regular season last year. This is a team that is starved for offense, and now their leading point scorer, their top line center, their best offensive player is done for, at 5 months. And we don't know how much of next season that's going to equate to, but he's going to be missing at least a pretty large chunk of next season, if not most of it. That is a tough situation to be in if you're the Dallas Stars. Losing Seguin really, really hurts. I mean, this team is so starved for offense to begin with, and they really don't have anyone that can step up and take on that number one center spot like Seguin. I mean, I would say Joe Pavelski is probably the most likely person to center that top line now, with Seguin out. He only had 14 goals and 31 points last season, largely playing on the second line. He only had 31 points last season. Jason Dickinson, who kind of has become a third line center for them, only had 21 points last year. Radek Faksa only had 20 points last year. These are guys who are better suited to be playing on the third and fourth lines, and they're going to have to move up the lineup and play a more offensive role. Pavelski is likely to be the guy that ends up taking the top line center spot, I would think. But, out of all of those three other centers, Pavelski, Faksa, and Dickinson, none of 31 points. Pavelski's 31 points was the most out of any of them. I mean, you are not replacing Tyler Seguin with someone who scored 31 points last year. It's just not going to happen. This is a loss. This is a big loss from the offense for the Dallas Stars. How badly is that going to affect their season? Well, that remains to be seen. I still think Dallas is a playoff team. I think they have some young players coming up who I think can help fill that gap offensively. I mean, we saw Joel Kiviranta really take off in the playoffs, and he had not even really been in the lineup until he was inserted in the postseason, and he took full advantage of his opportunity. I think Denis Gurianov, is going to continue to get better and continue to score more. They need more out of a guy like Andrew Cogliano, who is a veteran guy who's been in the league for a long time and only had 14 points last season. Like, they need more out of Andrew Cogliano. They need more out of Blake Como. These are guys that are going to have to step up. Rupe Hintz is another guy that he had 19 goals and 33 points last season. He's going to have to step up and score at least 20 and get over that 40-point mark this coming season. If Dallas is going to still have a successful season without Tyler Seguin there for a good chunk of it, they are going to need guys like that to step up and add more offense and just bring more. In the playoffs, they did that. We saw them in the playoffs, and they did bring that offense, and they scored significantly more goals per game in the playoffs than they did during the regular season last year. But losing Seguin is still a big loss, and they are greatly going to need some of these younger players to step up and take over and make up for that loss of Tyler Seguin until he gets back. But overall, the big news here is that Seguin and Bishop are going to be out for a significant amount of time, 5 months each because of injuries. And that is certainly going to have an impact on the Dallas Stars. I still think they make the playoffs. I still think they're a very good team, but there's no doubt that losing these two players are going to hurt. Again, Bishop, I don't think so much because they have Hudobin and Ottinger. They have guys that they can replace him with. That first line center spot, they do not have anyone right now that they can replace Seguin directly with. They can't directly replace Tyler Seguin. They're going to have to do it by committee. They're going to have some younger players step up. And they're going to need second and third line type guys to come up and play a more offensive role than what they did last season for Dallas. But that's it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, links to our Patreon, merchandise store, and donation link are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thanks again for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.